So this 4-day work week that I see cropping up quite a lot is definitely firstly very appealing. I think the logic behind it is to be applauded, I guess. People are kind of taking the steps to, I guess, safeguard their employees' mental health and, anything we can do to kind of turbocharge that work-life balance, get it working for staff and, give them a respite, rest and simply work from home. That was a big addition recently, and any steps we take to safeguard employees, I think it's a really, really good thing. What I want to do today is just run through how I've looked at it and why I'm against it, or against how it's being currently rolled out in a lot of agencies. It's not saying that I would never roll this out with the staff that I've currently got, but I think I would have to change the model to what a lot of agencies are seeing. So I've done effectively a BMS calculation on this full 4-day work week against the 5-day work week. Effectively, what does that 1 day a week that you're not working extrapolate to over a 3-year plan when we look at it on a bigger scale? So what I've tried to do is get a calculation in place where it keeps all the variables quite static. This obviously won't represent a real life scenario per se, but it should give you an idea of what the risks potentially are when it comes to this 4-day work week. So just as an example, what I've done is theorise two agencies. One agency is a 5-day work week agency. Agency B is a 4-day work week agency. And just to try and increase the numbers slightly to give a kind of that factor of seeing over a 3-year time plan on 2 employees. Each agency has got 2 employees that are at £25,000 a year salary, and just for theoretical purposes, both agencies are at 100% capacity. So agency A, 5-day work week, 2 employees, £25,000 each, 100% capacity. Agency B is 4-day work week and 2 employees and £25,000 a year salary as well. So over first year, agency A, 5-day work week, it'll have 464 days worked, and agency B, 352. So basically have every Friday off, and obviously the bank holidays, holiday allowances and all that kind of stuff. So we're currently looking at kind of around the 100-day mark, just over 100 days. Agency A would work over agency B. And I appreciate this is just cold calculations. I've got some notes further on the end of the video around like mental health and things like that as well. But from a numbers perspective, it's over 100 days. Agency A would work against agency B. So in pounds and pence, when both agencies submit the P&L at the end of the financial year, I always look for that 12 months. Agency A will have £33,600 more money in the business on the same employees working that additional day versus agency B. So more profitability, obviously you work that extra day, you can charge for it, you've got more capacity and so on. So in year 2, let's presume that that agency who's got £33,600 in profit hires another person. So they'll basically have a new employee, and then they'll also have, I think it's around £8,600 profit as well. So they've got that kind of in the pocket for whatever they want. It's just retain it as profit. So over that year 2 span, agency A will have 696 days of client billable work. Agency B is static on 352 because they're 4-day work week. We're using that as the baseline essentially, and we're just extrapolating out what that 1 day can do to a business over 3 years. So year 2, come back, present the P&Ls, both agencies. Agency A, £103,200 more money in agency A, profit. Agency B is static, again, 352 days worked, and we're just using that as the baseline. So 100k difference there, obviously a little bit of salaries increases and so on, but there'll be £103,200 cash more in the business of agency A than it would over agency B. Going into year 3, out of that, say 100k, what would happen there then is the 100k that they've got, so say they hired 3 more staff in, so they've took the headcount up exceptionally, and over the year, so they've hired 3 staff, and out of 100k, they've still got 28k profit, and they've got 3 additional members of staff there. And over that year, it comes to £312,000 of profit for agency A, and obviously stagnant for agency B. It's 2 employees, 100% capacity. So when they come back to present the P&L over a 3-year period, agency A would have had I think it's 450k into the business more than agency B over that one day. Two employees that extrapolated out into new hires and the reinvesting the profit back. So in that ideal world, agency A could be maybe £500,000 ahead over a 3-year span, just using kind of BMAL calculations, both at 100% capacity and so on. So what does that mean? So that's the I guess the financial elements to it is, financially it doesn't really make sense, I don't think, over a 3-year plan. There's obviously other variables there, but 450k potentially in agency A, that isn't in agency B. Another thing I kind of guess is with a 4-day work week is no matter which way you slice it, there's going to be some service erosion. I mean, there has to be, because if the clients don't work 4-day work weeks, they email on a Friday, for one reason or another, no matter how good the employee is, they'll know. I think they would know they're not in for every Friday. Either they know the 4-day work week and happy with it, or whatever that may be. But there's not a member of staff who's campaign lead, being the front runner of the campaign, there on a Friday. Someone could pick the emails up, or worse, he could not get a response, or just radio silence on a Friday, whatever that may be. So if the clients went 5 days a week and they had a quick fire question on a Friday, they'll have no option but to notice a change in service delivery, whether it's a different member of staff responding, equally as good, but it's just they'll notice something. I think there has to be some kind of margin erosion over a 4-day work week than a 5-day work week. So what that currently looks like is employees in agency A, they've obviously worked 5 days a week, so you'd expect them obviously doing more work. By the end of year 3, you'd have enough cash in the business to kind of pay each employee 60k a year, whereas obviously agency B is kind of set at 25k. So what seems to be happening, and what I think the outcome of this will be, is kind of a division of labour. If this came more widespread, where the people who would opt for 4-day agency would value kind of work-life balance, time off work, recovery. Agency A, I think, will have an incentive there for cash, so you can get a higher kind of personal remuneration when you're working 5 days a week. So I think both things equally is good, depending on what you want out of a company. But actually, I think the 5-day work weeks, they're doing the same amount of work over a 5-day span, probably have less pressure for a lot of agencies, which sounds counterintuitive, but what I see a lot of agencies do is they'll strip away that 5th day and create a compression environment for the 4 days, so they expect more output. So just as an example, on a Friday, everyone's kind of had like a Fat Friday lunch or whatever, and let's just presume we start talking about the weekend for the last hour of the day. I think effectively when you've got widespread staff being off on a Friday, you'll naturally bring that conversation to Friday evening. So you've got some erosion there for the weekend as you kind of wind down. And then you've only got the limits of, I guess, human capacity as well. So you can't type faster. You realistically maybe do 10% more or whatever. But I think when you've got 5-day work weeks, that extra day will just give you more monetary value. It doesn't mean more work, it just means you're working longer, but you're reinvesting back in that employee as well. So you've got actually more profit to reinvest back. So if you want a higher salary and work slightly longer hours, there's one option. If you want to work less, for it'll be less salary. Then obviously agency B's there as well. So you've got a division of work over there, which I think so. Even though it could seem like a good place to work to people on a work-life balance, on the 5-day could be equally as good for somebody who really wants a bit more cash rather than time off. So it's there as well. Another thing as well is a package erosion. So a lot of agencies might kind of bring in that because you work in 1 day less, we'll readjust your holiday allowance to go pro rata based on the hours you work. So actually, it just seems to be like you're not going part time, but you're getting the impact of not working your full hours, and obviously you can prorate your salary as well and all that kind of stuff. So there's just something to kind of be aware of. And then the flip side of that as well is what I've noticed is there's very few agencies that have actually the infrastructure to actually do 4-day work weeks, in the sense that each employee has a different level of efficiency, so there's not really a lot of consolidation of processes, like target operating models and all that kind of stuff. It's very much, if you give an SEO campaign to 3 or 4 different staff, they'd all approach it in a different way. Some are more efficient than others, but they've all been hit with a 20% less efficiency time by losing that day, because you've got 4-day weeks. So you're not necessarily compressing the progress of the 4-day work weeks, but you could be masking a problem of badly inefficient hours as well. So Yeah, it's something that I wouldn't necessarily incorporate. I don't think, whilst I'm for what it's set out to achieve, I just don't think it effectively achieves what it's meant to do. Um, and I think the 5 day work week essentially just pay the employees more money to do longer work, but actually the workload shouldn't really increase as much as well. So if there's that kind of notional compression for the first 4 days, for 5 day it should be less pressure overall for them 5 days as well. So yeah, it's something that I wouldn't necessarily look at in the business as a sense today. Big fan of remote working where you haven't got commute and all that kind of stuff. And probably slightly unpopular opinion is I think the people who can get away with working kind of 3 or 4 days a week, just from experience of what I've had, is people who've kind of started the business and work 6 or 7 days a week. It sounds like a counterbalance, but people who've really put a lot of time and effort into say starting a business, and then you've built up the infrastructure to kind of take the weight of that business away, and you can afford time off. I think is only people I've seen it work effectively well, but yeah, it's something that I won't be rolling out just based on what I'm seeing today, and I'm watching it. If it gets to a model where it works really well, I wouldn't think twice about implementing it. I just don't think the framework's there to make it really effective. Just given that the extrapolation over the 3 years, the service degradation, I think from a lot of our clients, and also the staff, I think would attract that where they would value the 4 day work week over higher salaries. Probably just isn't in with the nature of the business that we're running at the minute as well, where it's kind of always on, always support and kind of drive as well. But absolutely for anything that can help that work life balance. Yeah, I would love to do 4 day work weeks personally. When I'm most effective, I would have a good long kind of weekend break. I mean, obviously the bank holidays that have just passed is a good testament where you switch off and you come back. It's really refreshing. But I personally don't think it stacks up in my mind for this 4 day work week as it stands at the minute, unless jumping through some incredible hoops to kind of make it effective for clients and the business model as well. So yeah, not something I would roll out, but definitely for what's trying to set out to achieve. It'd be interesting to see how that kind of levels out. Obviously, I'm conscious that before COVID, remote working wasn't really popular. That was kind of got to a point now where it's just normal working relationships. So who knows? 4 day could adapt. I think if the clients start to adopt a 4 day work week, I guess one of two things could happen. We'll mirror them, or you could get specialist days off where you can actually get your head down with no client comms. You can just get the admin done or whatever that may be. So it's interesting to see how it's going to pan out. It definitely feels like it's getting more normalised and standardised in the agency. And as a candidate, I'd probably prioritise that now, especially with the little one and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting times. It's going to be good to see how it kind of materialises over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I guess.